Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show, another post-game edition. Ohio State, a dominant win over the Wisconsin Badgers, 34-0. Bill Landis, Doug Lamreese along with you. Thanks to everybody for joining us here. And we have a lot to talk about, even though Ohio State dominated from start to finish. This isn't a Wisconsin show. How bad is it for Luke Fickell, man?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I will say this, though. I thought he was going to kick the field goal at the end to try to save face. Shout out to him for not doing it.
Do you think it's actually better to save face by not saving face? Like just abandon your face? Because saving face, people be like, oh man, you're saving face in a meaningless way.
Yeah, they would have got booed if they put, I mean, they were already getting booed, but they would have got booed even louder had they set the field goal team out there. No, it's bad. We knew it was bad. I think we said in the pregame, they have Oregon next week and then they're off. My hunch is that Luke coaches the Oregon game and he's done after that, but we'll see. A second straight shutout. They could do it after this one too.
All right. Ohio State throws for 349 yards in this one. Julian Sayin, 30 of 38, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Jeremiah Smith, 8 catches on 11 targets. 8 catches on 11 targets for 71 yards for Jeremiah Smith. 6 catches on 7 targets for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns for Carnell Tate. Bo Jackson, check down king, 5 catches on 5 targets for 57 yards. Max Clare, 5 catches on 5 targets for 29 yards. Overall, Ohio State winds up with 20 rushes and 38 passes, Landis. They came up and moved right down the field to start the game, throwing the ball in every play except one. And like the running play wasn't great, right?
Nope.
Let me ask you this. Could Ohio State beat a good team with 0 rushing attempts, throwing the ball on every single play in a game?
Weather permitting, yeah, I think they could.
Yeah. There is, I think a lot of people understand this because we have very educated, dedicated, loyal Ohio State fans here. Balance in offense does not mean run pass. Balance does not mean Urban Meyer would get into this sometimes, right? Urban Meyer, sometimes he would call out 250. Would he not? 250 passing yards, 250 rushing yards as like perfection.
Yep. All the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, are those stats incorrect for saying? I'm looking at Stat Broadcast.
Yeah, So here's Stat Broadcast died like in the middle.
No.
Yeah, there's like nothing from the fourth quarter on Stat Broadcast. So I got you here because I was really struggling.
Stat Broadcast is like that's like official team stuff. Stat Broadcast. What's
up?
It
just died. Like there's nothing from the fourth quarter. So saying officially 36 of 42 for 394 and 4 touchdowns. The receiving, Tate 6 for 111 on 7 targets, 2 touchdowns. Smith 9 for 97 on 13 targets. Jackson 5 for 57. Claire 5 for 29. Isaiah West, your leading rusher, 9 carries for 54 yards.
Well, thanks for picking me up there. Stat Broadcast. Who would have thought it? Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Who said that? Who said that in the thing? Somebody said, hey, you got the stats wrong, and I appreciate people, our educated, dedicated fans being on top of it. I want to say this right off the top. We try to make this show instantaneous. We try to make this show not Pollyanna, but it's like Ohio State just beat somebody 34-0. Like, let's celebrate the #1 team in the country. We do a Sunday sound off for our Substack subscribers. I think the Sunday sound off might be 90 minutes on Tegra Shabola. I don't think it's right to do that right now. We see it. Do you see it, Landis?
See it. I hear it. We'll talk about it. I want to rewatch some more of it over the weekend, but yeah, it's clearly the right side of the offensive line, I think, in general, is an issue for Ohio State right now.
Yeah. So everybody sees it. Here are the 2 things that I want to lead off with. One is this performance combined with Miami losing on Friday night, combined with Oregon losing to Indiana last week, combined with Texas Tech currently trailing Arizona State. I believe we are 100% officially in the Ohio State and everybody else portion of the college football season. What do you think of that?
No, I think we are. And Ohio State is not without its flaws, clearly, and we're going to talk about them either today or tomorrow or the rest of this week with Ohio State being off. But yes, I think we are very much in that position.
Okay. You and I have been talking like we think Ohio State, Oregon, and Miami are the three best teams. Now those two teams lost, and again, like Oregon losing to Indiana. Indiana's there, but I'm not ready to say like Indiana. Even though I think you could argue that Indiana should be number one based on resume, I'm not ready to argue that Indiana is like stride for stride next to Ohio State. I would think at this point Indiana is leading the chase pack, but I don't.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I don't think it's offensive to Indiana to couch it that way. And again, I just think if Ohio State was in the SEC, was the defending national champ, and was playing this way, ESPN would already be clearing space for the national championship parade and asking Nick Saban or Paul Feinbaum, do you want to be co-grand marshals or who wants to do it? And so, like, I just think you have to have, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I looked at the odds this morning. Ohio State was 3-1 to win the national championship. I think Bama was 7-1, and everybody else was 10-1 or greater. And then to come out and do this, to post a shutout with your defense, to lean into what you do best on offense, and what you do best is what is the best thing that any offense does in the country. To then lay this down, Landis, this is a dominant win that just reaffirms every possible thing you thought about Ohio State.
Yeah, so they outgained Wisconsin 491 to 144. It was basically like 500 to 70 before the last drive of the game for Wisconsin. And like there are things that happened in the game certainly that kept Ohio State from having more than 34 points. But it wasn't like I don't think any of those things are like really being done to Ohio State, right? So like that to me makes me comfortable couching this as I mean it's 34-0. Of course it's dominant. You can always dig into it and find more, right? And find the areas that Ohio State needs to improve upon. But to go, it's not a tricky spot because Wisconsin's bad. But like, if the last 2 weeks are like Ohio State's version of quote unquote like laying an egg or like not playing its best or like its version of a clunker, like it's 34-16 and 34-0. That's not too bad.
Yeah. It's really, man, the stats really are jacked up everywhere. What was there a lightning strike? Did the person in the press box just go get a brat and never come back? What is happening?
I don't know. Like it was bad. It was like weird all game. Like it was like wrong and like catching up to stuff. Like at one point, Wisconsin completed a pass, and the live stats said Julian Sayin completes the Max Clare for a negative 24 yards. So it was having a hard time.
Is this an ESPN SEC conspiracy? It's like, hey, don't do the stat. If we don't show the stats in Ohio State, nobody will know they're the overwhelming number one team in the country.
Maybe, yeah. CBS Sports has the updated stats.
They do. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we believe we are at the point where it's Ohio State and everybody else. Is Julian Sayin the clear favorite to win the Heisman Trophy today?
I don't know. Diego Pavia hit a Heisman pose.
Oh, so. Diego Pavia! Oh, Vanderbilt beat LSU and preseason Heisman favorite Garrett Nussmeier. By the way, thank you to all of college football for shoving Carson Beck and Garrett Nussmeier down our throats for 2 consecutive preseasons. I can't wait to see where Garrett Nussmeier transfers next year. God, so
could be
right.
It could be next week.
So right on Carson Beck. 4 picks on Friday night. So right on Garrett Nussmeier. Diego Pavia is 31 years old. Congratulations to 31-year-old Diego Pavia for trying to worm his way into the Heisman race by beating the most fraudulent number 10 team in the country. This is a 5-star quarterback for the number 1 team in the country. You know what is often a convincing Heisman case? The best player on the best team. What did you think of Julian Sayin today?
Yeah, I thought he was really good. I thought he scrambled well. You got the quarterback sneak conversion. By the way, Ohio State now 31-34 in quarterback sneak since 2019. Not bad. He kept the ball in a designed quarterback run, which is like
so good.
From. I thought it's always a thing where you can go back and like when I look at the all-22 on some of those checkdowns, will there be stuff down the field? Maybe. But these checkdowns are going for 10, 12 yards, right? So it's hard to be too upset about them. I thought the throw to Carnell Tate, we can talk about the catch later in Tate as well, but like the throw down the seam, aggressive, good pace, like that was probably his best read and best throw of the season for Julian Sayin on that first touchdown of the game. Super efficient, navigated pressure well, used his legs a little bit when he had to. It wasn't the best opponent that Ohio State played this year, so I don't know if you can say it was his best game, But if you can say that, then it probably was. Like I don't know if the opponent keeps you from doing that, but I kind of thought it was his best game of the year.
I thought it was his best game because I thought it was the combination of poise, do what's right, but also more rip it. I thought that was the rippiest Sayin we've seen, and it still didn't include any mistakes. Because like I think, and it's, to me, it is the next step on the path. And I think this was the most dangerous version of Ohio State because he did take a couple shots down the field. I thought he just looked more confident, right? I just thought he looked like, all right, that like there he is. I thought that was the full Sayin.
I thought it was the full Sayin too, and it was interesting to hear Ryan Day after the game say like we wanted to put a lot on him, so they threw the ball 27 times on 35 plays in the first half. Which is like, yeah, you definitely put it on him, but he seemed to kind of relish that, and like some of those throws were RPOs, which is great. But yeah, he was ripping it. He was confident, playing with some juice, showing a little bit of playmaking chops. Right, I think. Yeah, it was all really nice to see. To answer your question, by the way, on the Heisman thing, I think as we're having this conversation, yes, he is probably the favorite. It's either he or Fernando Mendoza. But we'll have to see what Ty Simpson does tonight against Tennessee, I think, because he's kind of right there too.
But I also like, there's part of me that does, why would Fernando Mendoza, like the quarterback of undefeated Indiana, is the Heisman leader? It's like, yeah, great. He should be right there. But what about the quarterback of undefeated Ohio State? And I do think we're getting to the point with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith where they're almost too close to pick from. Like, I know who's going to start the Carnell Tate Heisman Trophy candidacy, right? I mean, it would seem like
I almost typed it in the chat. I didn't. I stopped myself. That catch is ridiculous.
Does he have the best hands you've ever seen?
Yeah, really
for an
strong.
Ohio State receiver,
really
strong and late. Like he's always just like boop 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 whoop. Got it. Good. Like just he is a very interesting combination to me of, I don't want to say casual because I don't want to, that might imply the wrong thing, but he kind of just feels like he's going along, like kind of going for a walk in the park, and then it's like a nanosecond of perfect technique and it's over. And he has a 26-yard gain, and then he just keep going for his walk in the park. And like does he have to clean up after his dog? It's like, oh, there's a ball coming, wham, and here we go. Like it is really special, and I don't think there's anything to a like they've got to get Jeremiah Smith the ball more. I just think they're working in concert together, as we said when I guess I read off the incorrect stats, but Tate didn't have as many targets as Jeremiah. He just had more catches and yards than Jeremiah, right? So I think the breakdown is no issue. Do you have any issue with the breakdown of Tate and Jeremiah Smith, of how they're being used and how often they're getting the ball?
No, not at all. Tate has 7 targets for 6 receptions, and Jeremiah had 13 for 9, and like two 50-50 balls in the end zone that were like, or in the end zone or / near the end zone. No, I think they're both in the end zone. They were like slightly underthrown, and like the kind of ridiculous catch that I don't think is fair to expect anybody to actually make, but Jeremiah has made them before. So when he doesn't make them, you're like, should have been a touchdown. It's like, yeah, could have been for him only. Yeah. But so like, I don't know, like 9 for, they got him that late catch when he probably shouldn't have been out there to get him like close to 100 yards. They were very clearly trying to get him in the end zone after Tate scored twice. But no issue with the breakdown in targets. I guess maybe and I think it's just a matter of what the coverage is doing. It does feel like Carnell Tate is getting more opportunities down the field than Jeremiah Smith does, but I think that's because safeties are going with Jeremiah and not always with Carnell. Even on that touchdown pass, the safety like started over Jeremiah, and the reason Julian Sayin could make that throw is because the safety was late getting over from standing over Jeremiah. So I think fans know why it's happening, but the breakdown I think is good. Yeah,
I don't know what it would take to get to the place where safeties are like, well, I'm going with Tate. You
couple more games like this one, maybe.
Like, sorry, man, I know it sounds crazy, but you got Jeremiah 1-on-1 because I'm going with Tate. He's walking his dog, and he's walking his dog 70 yards down the field, and I'm afraid of what he's going to do. So I just think, but that the synchronization of the passing game, and I thought I thought just like the way, I don't even know what it is, because you were sort of talking about like you like it when Julian Sayin like shows little juice after a big throw or something like that. But I just thought maybe today it looked the most ever like his passing game. And he has these two unbelievable weapons, as opposed to here are these two unbelievable weapons being thrown the ball by quarterback X, and a lot of guys could throw him the ball. I thought it was more Sayin centric, that takes nothing away from the receivers, but that he took more ownership of it.
Yeah, it felt like they were. But even like I think you have 6 games of a body of work, you figure out sort of like what are Julian's best throws, best concepts kind of stuff. And I felt like Ohio State was leaning into more of that in this game. That is the RPOs, like the quick trigger to read it and pull it and fire it out to the sideline. The stuff outside of the pocket, like he's just really good throwing the ball on the run.
Yes.
And I think, you saw a couple bat it down at the line in this game. That'll be a thing that I think Julian is as a smaller quarterback will have to continue to be sort of cognizant of especially when he's getting pressure. But I think moving the pocket the way that Ohio State does obviously decreases some of the chances for that to happen. So yeah, it felt like the most sort of like mind meldy, I guess, of like quarterback, play caller, what you see on the field so far this season. And granted, it happened against the Wisconsin defense that is not very good against the pass, so you have to take it with some grain of salt, I suppose. But if you wanted to see like building blocks throughout the year, right, for a guy who's starting for the first time, I don't know, it's nice to see him turn in his best game of the season halfway through the year.
I did think like the 2 plays down the field of Jeremiah Smith, Ricardo Hallman, I think, was coverage in both of those. And as you had pointed out, like Ricardo Hallman's got a body of work. He's a good player. He's been one of the better cornerbacks in the Big Ten. His grades this year aren't great, but that's like, okay, like Ricardo Hallman's running with you. Like he has a chance to make it difficult on you. Right. So, sure, and it's, he's more often than not with Jeremiah in those situations. I want to talk about the play calling. Give me the breakdown again of pass plays to run plays from the official stats that aren't being done by a saboteur with 2 bratwursts in each hand.
Sure. Let me see here. Oh, this will be. Did they not have it? So 70 total plays.
Okay.
28 rushing attempts. But one of those is a kneel down. 2 of those are kneel downs. One is a sneak.
Yep.
One is a designed run from Sayin, and one is a scramble. One's a scramble and one's a sack. So I think that's only actually 22 carries for the running backs.
Okay.
21 carries for the running backs.
And especially, I think it was like 27-7 at some point when the game mattered, right? Early on.
And then the first half, I stopped tallying it after the first half, but the first half was they had 35 plays and 27 of them were called passes.
Okay. So why was that the case? Were they trying to prove something? Were they trying to work something out? Were they trying to avoid something in the run game? Or is this actually the best version of the Ohio State offense and a 2/3 pass, 1/3 run distribution? Because I'm not going to use the word balance, distribution, and you find balance for deep, short, wide, in the middle, receivers, tight ends, checkdowns to running backs. That's your balance. Is that distribution actually the winning distribution?
I think it is. Yeah, I think anybody who watches Ohio State would say that it is. Whether or not this was the first game of many where we see that happen, I don't know. It's the last game before a week off. You got Penn State. You want to show some different stuff. Like, that's part of it. We're asking a lot about the run game. They didn't run the ball well last week. Come out throwing. That's part of it. I would say of those 27 called passes in the first half, probably 8 or so were RPOs that were attached to runs that I think Julian Sayin made the right read and got the ball out and threw it. And it's like, why would you run inside for 3 yards when you can throw it outside for 8 yards kind of thing? So I think this is clearly what Ohio State like will be in like come crunch time, right? Like same thing we saw last year. Got the postseason, started throwing it more. Didn't play faster really, but threw the ball out more. Threw it first. At least in the first 2 playoff games. So, and I think Ryan Day and Brian Hartline know that like when it's time to go win big time games, that's what they have to be. But I don't know if this was more of a break tendency or like the first step in that direction. I'm not entirely sure, because I do think we can take it and run a little too far with it based off just past experiences analyzing this team.
I liked the first drive especially. I just thought there was more flow, connection, continuity. We've talked a lot about the art of play calling versus the science of play calling. I feel like they had a little ways, maybe a long ways to come with that. I thought you felt that early in the game, that things were maybe connected more than they've ever been. And I don't know if that's just because it was passes and because when they throw, sometimes they just look unstoppable. But did you feel that from a play calling standpoint?
Yeah, it felt like at no point this year has it felt like Ohio State has ever leaned on a team with its rushing attack, but it was leaning on Wisconsin with its passing attack to start this game. It was just an onslaught, and again, I think aided by the fact that some of these passes were paired with runs, and like I think Wisconsin was expecting Ohio State to run, because that's what Ohio State has done all year, right? So it was a little bit of a zig when they're expecting you to zag kind of thing, but like I think that entire drive, I think, is just like a snapshot of who they ought to be, right? Like throwing it more than they run it. Every run has the option to throw. Almost every run has the option to throw. So we'll see if that's what they actually morph into.
Because that would be like, that's quite a thing. That's not how most teams play offense. If
it's not how Ohio State has played offense for a couple of years.
I know, and like I think it is correct. At this moment right now, do you view this more as a one-off or more as the game plan that Ohio State will follow in its chase to repeat as national champions?
I'll put my foot in the bear trap, I guess, and say the latter. Like, I think this was the first step in that direction. Yeah.
Okay. That is like, there's somebody, Bill, who just pulled their car over on the side of the road while listening to this and got out and ran around in a field of sunflowers and said, this is the greatest day of my life, because that's what everybody's been waiting for. And it can make you feel like a lunatic, right? Because when Washington was chucking it around on the way to the national title game 2 years ago, wasn't I kind of like, could Ohio State do this? And it's like, well, that's not exactly what Ohio State does, but it's like, but couldn't they? And like, this is that. Because we're talking about, when we've looked back in the history of Ryan Day at Ohio State, it's like, well, are they going to be more 55% pass, 45% run? Are they going to be more 53% run, 47% pass? But never have we had a conversation of like, do you think they should be 65% pass, 35% run? But you watch a game like this, and the answer is yes, they should be.
Yeah, I mean, this was like 80% pass, but yeah, at least until garbage time. Yeah, like I think there is a notion, right? And I don't actually think it's entirely off base, that like in the Big Ten, you may encounter games where you can't do that because of the weather. We talked when we made our picks, like it was supposed to rain, and the forecast changed, and it was like the most beautiful day in Madison anyone's ever seen. So it didn't rain at all, and it wasn't a factor. But like, that's the only thing, I guess, that would be in the back of your mind with wanting to keep working on the run game. And like they do have to keep working on the run game, right? They can't. I don't think they're going to average 2.5 yards a carry themselves to a national championship again, right? But clearly they should be a throw first team, and we've long thought that about Ohio State. And I think maybe only 1 year under Ryan Day they actually have been by percentages of their plays. But this is it. Like, this is what it has to look like, right? And it's not even it's Sayin and it's Tate and it's Smith, and it's like good for Brandon Inniss for getting a touchdown in this game. And you see some young guys step into the game, and you're throwing check downs to Bo Jackson. It's like, what if Bo Jackson has 8 carries and 6 receptions for 50 yards in every game, right? Like, that's not a bad game for Bo Jackson. And he's clearly pretty good as a receiving back. So everything they do, they pass block better than they run block. Like, everything they do points in the direction of like, this is what they need to be. So that is why I think it was the first step, even if history tells me maybe we shouldn't think that so definitively.
So I think, again, I think it's maybe in the first step on a path that isn't a straight line. And that if Ohio State gets into a game with Purdue or Rutgers, or it's a little weird at home for Ohio State in 2 weeks against Penn State, that they won't do this. But But maybe, and as people have pointed out, and smartly so, Wisconsin has decent run defense and their pass defense is there for the taking, right? So it's like, okay, like also like good job leading into what the defense doesn't do very well. But that this is possible, and I don't know that anybody would have doubted that it's possible. But the idea that, like, is it a legitimate option? Is this Ohio State gets into a playoff quarterfinal against a good team, and could they decide to really go about it 70% pass, 30% run? Because I think that's what you and I and a lot of fans would have questioned. Like, do they just not want to do that because they don't think it's the best way to win? Would they bang their head against the wall of the run game? Or if they just let it happen, you're saying, and I think I agree with you, that this is an indication that when circumstances allow it and not dictate it, but maybe this becomes more of like, well, this is what we want to do. So unless they have a great pass defense, unless they're just going to drop 8 and not let us do anything, but even then, maybe you just do the RPO stuff, you take stuff underneath. But we want to do this, and if the weather or the defense isn't particularly stopping us from throwing it 65% of the time, that's officially our game plan. That's our default game plan. And maybe you come away from that. Doesn't mean every game, but it means it becomes more of the norm. And I would not say so far we believe that was the norm.
No, I didn't believe it was the norm. And I think that the difference might be the RPO stuff, right? Because even if you think about 2018 when they threw the ball a ton when Dwayne was the quarterback, it was such a ongoing conversation about like, well, we're trying to run RPOs, but the offensive line doesn't know how to block them. And then when it's time to run the ball, we can't do it. It's like, well, I guess we're just not doing too many RPOs that year. Like 2023, they didn't have a great run game. They weren't like still not a heavy RPO team. They've really never been like Ryan Day has just never been a guy who incorporates a lot of that into his offense.
Mm-hmm.
This was by Ryan Day standards, this was a very heavy RPO game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as you're giving yourself that option to, like, we've talked about like defenses can sort of play you to whatever, run the ball or throw the ball if they know you're a heavy RPO team, depending on what they prefer you to do. But if they're doing that, like say they are playing you to run the ball, well, then the way they're going to do that is by diverting more of their players to stopping your throwing game, which then will give you a better box to run the ball into. And in theory, you're a more efficient rushing team. And Ohio State should be able to rush that way. Their numbers so far this season running into late boxes are fine. So if they have that, if it's like, it's less to me about overall balance. Did you run it? Did you throw it over the course of the game? But it's like, do you have almost like balance within your plays? To run it and or throw it, I think is where they need to live. So as long as they're living there, then I think, yeah, it's probably fine if you end up in a game where you throw the ball 70% of the time.
We've been talking about the art of play calling. Do you think it's possible that Ryan Day grabbed Brian Hartline by the shoulders in the post-game locker room and said, that's it. That's it. Awesome job. How that felt sitting up in that box and how this offense was working, and you felt like you were a pilot on a 747 in smooth skies. That's it, Brian. You had that moment. Remember how this feels. This is how this team wins.
Probably. This was it wasn't 100% perfect.
I know we got to get to the run game, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was like coming off of a game last week where I feel like they really had no rhythm.
Yeah. And like you were saying, when you look back last week, you're talking about running into heavy boxes, not like, well, we ran because that's what the defense gave us. It's like, well, the defense is taking away the run and you're running anyway.
Yeah. Right. Like it didn't seem like RPOs were like live last week rewatching the game. And they're very much live in this game. Yeah, maybe Ryan Day had that reaction to this one. I think we all know what it looks like when a play caller's on the rhythm. Because Ryan Day has been in that mode many times in his time at Ohio State. This was probably the most rhythm Brian Hartline has been in. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Run game. On our Monday show, Around the Shoe, we hope people join us on Around the Shoe, where we welcome 2 fantastic Ohio State media members on a rotating basis to join me and join Bill in talking about 5 quick hit Ohio State topics. We talked about who's a young player you'd like to see more of in the second half of the season on Monday, and I nominated Isaiah West. Isaiah West, 9 carries, 54 yards today. Bo Jackson, 10 carries, 26. CJ Donaldson, 2 carries for 12. So do you think we are at RB1 is Bo Jackson and RB2 is Isaiah West? And the short yardage guy, for whatever reason, is CJ Donaldson.
Yeah, kind of. This was the second time that like James Peoples was available and they just didn't give him the ball on a handoff. So yeah, I kind of think we're there. And Isaiah West was in this game early.
Yep. When it mattered, like this was, I wouldn't call that stuff garbage time, right?
No, they had that. He was on that drive where they missed the field goal. It was like past the Quincy Porter, past the Mylan Graham, past the Quincy Porter, run for Isaiah West, like 3 straight plays. That's where I am. Like I like, is Ohio State's running back stable 2 true freshmen? Yeah, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah. So here's the thing about this, and I think maybe we've now learned from the Bo Jackson thing. There was like a week or 10 days there where it maybe felt like the fans and the media were somewhere with Bo Jackson, and we were wondering, are the coaches there also? And then it turns out, yeah, they were. And maybe they were slow playing it a little bit. Maybe they were making sure that they kept the veterans involved and didn't just go willy-nilly to the freshmen. Maybe they made sure that Bo Jackson was doing all the other things that he needed to do. But then like week 4, it was like, oh no, they have the same eyeballs that we have. And everybody sees that Bo Jackson's the best running back on this team. And then we stopped having angsty conversations about like, oh, why don't they give the ball to Bo Jackson? If you see it, if the people see it, I think they see it. And I don't know that it means that that's what it's going to be against Penn State, but I bet by the Michigan game and maybe a gradual, maybe not fast enough for some of us, but I bet by the Michigan game, it's Bo Jackson and Isaiah West as the backfield.
Yeah, I think so too. Donaldson's not going anywhere. Donaldson is going to be like their situational guy still. For better or for worse, but that is what it is. And he's a veteran. That's part of it is like he's older. You want the ball in his hands,
sure.
And like when the money's down, kind of thing. But yeah, I think we're headed in that direction. I still thought even Bo Jackson, he got hit in the backfield a lot, but I don't know. He didn't still not look 100% to me on some of those runs.
There were a couple turnstile plays, man, where it was like, man, there was a badger at your feet, and it was like, let's go back to the replay, and oh baby,
yeah, there wasn't like. LaDainian Tomlinson's not dancing his way out of some of these runs.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be good for Bo to get this week of rest before the Penn State game. Yeah, and I depending on how that game goes, I guess I'll say this: like Bo Jackson's going to start against Penn State, and depending on whether or not the situation presents itself for CJ Donaldson to get involved is hard. It's hard to predict, but like the third running back into the game, I think will be Isaiah West in that game.
Yeah, but I bet Michigan and playoff Isaiah West winds up with more carries in those combined games than CJ Donaldson does.
Yeah,
even if CJ Donaldson is a touchdown vulture.
That's right.
We see the Tigris Shabola situation. We're just not going. We said it right off the top. It's just not what we're going to spend a lot of time on right now. So we see your comments. Every Ohio State fan sees it. We're going to give Mr. O-line a little time to take a second look at it and really try to problem solve this for our Substack show for Substack subscribers on Sunday morning. So if you want to come join us there, BillAndDougOSU.substack.com. We do a Sunday morning sound off show for the subscribers over there. So we're not like, it's not like we're avoiding it. It's not like we're afraid to talk about it. We just want to, understandably talk about the number 1 team defending national champs, winning 34-0 on the road and finishing this 4-game stretch with some really good football. They threw a touchdown pass at a 13 personnel on the goal line. What'd you think of that?
Great. Because they were way too deep on, I think, like tipping their hand by personnel, right? When they get in the I formation, they run the ball. So they have to throw out of it sometimes. And they did it against Minnesota? Washington. No, they did it against Washington, I think. And they did it in this game. They have to keep sprinkling that in. So I thought that was a nice call, nice design.
Yeah. Special teams. we've just had multiple special teams conversations. We've had multiple special teams investigations on our Substack where we have delved into things. We have asked who's in charge of things. We have compared Ohio State to other teams from a special team standpoint, and it's still just loose. It's not great to miss a 38-yard field goal, but sometimes you do. I know in the Michigan-Washington game, they exchanged missed field goals early on in that game, and when it really mattered. It feels like a lot of people are at the point with Jaden Fielding where it's just like every time he's out there now, it's like, okay. I mean, he's usually pretty good under 40, like usually pretty good. Like he just doesn't have a big leg. He's not going to make a long one, but he's usually pretty good otherwise. But you throw in a 38-yard miss into a game like this, and it ups the angst a little bit, does it not?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I wrote a story about kicking field goals like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And in that story, I wrote, I don't think Ryan Day trusts his field goal kicker as far as he can throw them. And I think that remains the case. Certainly not for anything from distance, but there's still a little bit too much inconsistency there. I don't entirely understand kicking in that situation. Like, because I just don't know that if Ohio State's in a game in that situation, are they really going to kick? Are they really going to put it on Jaden Fielding's leg? Wouldn't you be better off like doing what you're going to do when it matters most in those situations and working on those things rather than putting out your average kicker to kick a 30-yard field goal he's not going to make?
But I think it's still, I think, a little bit of the work in progress, because what if the 38-yard field goal is on 4th and 17 and you just can't go on 4th and 17 in a close game? And like, it's not a choice. I agree with you. I think if they play in a game that matters against an opponent that matters, if there's a choice, I don't think they're picking field goal. Michigan playoff, they're not picking field goal ever. But he, I think, is continuing to test it for the moments when you are forced into field goal. And the analytics tell you that 4th and 16 versus a 44-yard field goal, you've got to try the 44-yard field goal. And so you can't have a kicker who's 3 of 4 on the year because you haven't given him the chance. So I just assume every field goal is not a strategic decision. It is a test for the future.
They did convert, nearly converted like a 3rd and 18, like they were running off 3rd and 1. So so if there was ever a team where maybe you do go for it on 4th and 16, it's this one. I get what you're saying. Yes. And I thought the same thing when we were having 50-yard field goal conversations. Like, are there going to be a lot of 50-yard field goals of consequence? Probably not. But like, what if you have 1 second left and that's the only recourse you have? Is like, you're not going to throw a Hail Mary, right? So you might as well, you got to work on it some. I get that. It's just frustrating. I think it'd be less frustrating if the rest of the special teams weren't such a joke, but it just sort of gets thrown into the mix with everything else.
Where are you on punt return at the moment?
I actually think like a couple of them weren't bad today, considering Brandon Innes was injured and maybe shouldn't have been back there. The one that got down to the 1, like that's just a good punt. Like Brandon Innes is not supposed to catch that. He's supposed to do what he did, fake like he's going to catch it and then get out of the way so it doesn't hit him and hope that it bounces into the end zone. The last one where he like caught running backwards toward the end zone, didn't love that one.
That was the one that was like over the shoulder at the 2.5. I'm not sure is in the play.
Yeah, not great. So again, like a mixed bag, and then the conversion on the 4th and 19 punt was from the esteemed Dan Hope of 11 Warriors from the postgame press conference. Ryan Day called the breakdown on Wisconsin's fake punt, quote, ridiculous, which is one way to describe it. Wasn't even a fake punt. The guy just ran because there was nobody there. It was not a called fake punt.
Because that was a thing that caused the Ryan Day Greg Schiano fight a couple of years ago. That Jesse Mirko did it. Was like, because you're right. If it's there, take it. And Jesse Mirko took it in like a 40-point win. And Greg Schiano was like, Ryan Day, do you want to throw hands? And so
but usually it's like 4th and 4, not 4th and 19.
I know. They still had a tackle to make and they didn't make it. They missed 2 tackles on a punter. Now, it's also possible, is Wisconsin's punter their best athlete?
Luke Fickle's got some stuff to figure out, I think.
Also, I can't find the stats because, as we've reported, the stat box at the Wisconsin at Camp Randall fell off the side of the press box during the game.
They're updated now. It looks like they're updated now.
Not for me.
Oh, refresh your screen.
Oh, there they are. All right, special teams. Special teams punting, Ohio State 42-yard average, Wisconsin punter 54-yard average. It is one of those things. It feels like taunting when Ohio State faces a team that it is 4 times better than, and you're like, my God, I'm not sure Ohio State wouldn't trade 3 receivers for their punter right now.
He booted one out of the end zone like 70 yards. He's not having a good year either. Their punter.
He averaged 54 yards a punt, 7 punts for 54 yards.
And one went through the end zone, and the other one that Brandon Ennis caught on the dead sprint running backwards should have gone through the end zone.
50 plus, 6 out of 7, 50 plus. I'm not sure Joe McGuire can kick the ball 50 yards. Are you sure that he can?
I'm sure that he can't.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just saying, like, everyone's frazzled about special teams. Okay.
They had a new punter. It wasn't. I thought Atticus Bertram was their punter. This is a different punter.
Listen, you're just obsessed with is Attica the plural of 2 Atticuses, and so no, it's this West guy. Maybe they can trade for a punter. Maybe. Ohio State can trade for a punter in the portal. But special teams still just feels like on edge in a weird way when almost everything else with the number 1 team in the country, run game accepted at times, is really clicking. It just is an odd situation.
Yeah, I mean, they punted once. It was 42 yards.
No, it's not like nobody's walking around with torches about punting today, but yeah.
They didn't one kick return for 16 yards. It's mostly just punt return and field goal still, which is I think what it's usually been.
I wrote before the game about the conversation that Kinyatta Jackson said he had with Matt Patricia this week, that he thought he was having a good year, but he said, I wouldn't say I'm doing things I don't want to do, but I'm sacrificing for the team. It's just like, man, this is super interesting. I think Kinyatta Jackson is a real one, man. Like I think I have a lot of respect for that guy. Yeah. A top 100 national recruit from the state of Florida who, he's a year behind Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. He ends up getting blocked. JT and Jack in their first 3 seasons in Ohio State, like JT played like 1,400 snaps. Jack played 1,100. And a year behind them in his first 3 seasons, Kinyatta Jackson played 500. Right. So like you're not getting the opportunity. And now here he's getting an opportunity and they're just playing like mature, poised defense. And he kind of wants chances to rush the passer. So I was like on alert for it today. And I thought you saw it. Like I don't know if I made it up. See, Seek is saying the KJ discussion sounded a bit selfish. I don't think it does, because I think when you are a veteran who is doing his job, you have earned the right to start a conversation with your position coach. And you earn that conversation with work. And I think you can do what is best for the team and still be interested in but I have something I want to say about me. And I will say this also. I would rather have a player bring it up to a coach than sulk about it or start something.
Or just start doing it without bringing it up.
Or freelance, right? Yeah, so I think this is realistic. I think this is how life works. And how many disgruntled people do you know at your job who are just like walking around like MFing people, MFing the bosses behind their back, right? Yeah. They don't know how good I am, but you instead take it to the boss and say, I'm doing what you tell me to do, but I believe I can also help this company by doing other things. And I would like to talk to you about that. I think that is actually incredibly mature. And so I then did think, because I think you could see a little bit, and I tried to go back and rewatch last week, is that in a little bit, I think in trying to cage the pocket, as he said, and like not over rush and keep contained and not let quarterbacks out, I thought he was sort of being a little almost basic with his pass rush, that he's sort of like, okay, I'm going to go into a guy. I'm going to go into the tackle. I'm going to stand him up. I'm going to make sure that I don't get too far inside or too far outside. And I'm going to make the quarterback stay in the pocket. If I get to him, great, but that's not actually what we're that worried about. But I'm just going to do this. And he's saying because what he said is, I want to use my moves. Because he said, I talked to Coach P about some other things I want to do. I said, what are the other things? He said, I want to use my pass rush moves. So then I thought today you saw him using his pass rush moves. I thought I saw a spin. I thought I saw like the pull down and go around. I thought I saw him try to go around the edge on somebody, but in a way he said, Matt Patricia basically said, just don't go past the quarterback and you can kind of do whatever you want. And I thought it like just unleashed him a little bit. And then he had the play where he knocked the ball out of the quarterback's hands and it was an incomplete pass, but it was a good play. I thought he was a little more active. And I just thought it was, I don't know. I might have been the only person in the country who was on lookout for it because I thought it was an interesting conversation. But I thought I saw it, and to me, that's like that's good. That's good football. That's mature football. That has a chance to pay off down the line. And I'm glad Kinyatta Jackson and Matt Patricia had that conversation.
Yeah, and I think it was a game for it too, right? Like they're not worried about Wisconsin's quarterbacks taking off and running on them. Clearly, so like when they play the next time they play a quarterback that can scoot. I don't know if that's next or in 2 weeks against Ethan Grunkmeyer or not, but like Nico Iamaleava, right? When they play UCLA, you're going to cage the pocket on him. So when it happens, like I think the job description changes, but what this job description was, let it eat a little bit, right? And I felt like you saw him doing that. It seemed like the left tackle, actually both tackles wherever he was lined up, were having some trouble with him. He didn't have like a ton of sacks or anything like that, but it did feel like he was kind of getting by the guy. A decent amount. There wasn't a ton of like pure drop back in this game either, which always contributes to it. But I thought you saw it. I thought you felt like his presence a little bit. He did have the one penalty where he got a little over anxious, I think. The best thing Wisconsin did, I think, in this game was like vary its cadence to get Ohio State to try to jump off sides.
Did he jump off sides twice? I thought did he jump off sides twice? Because then I thought it was like, once. I see him like trying to do this now. And it's like, okay, like I see it. Like it's okay. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was twice. It was definitely happened at least one time. But he's got more sort of like in his bag, right? And he's just been doing what's required of the position given the opponents they've played. So I think we'll continue to see that. But yeah, you want to give guys a chance to get after it a little bit when you're playing a team that's as overmatched as Wisconsin was, and it felt like they did that today.
So double checking, Lorenzo Styles was not on the injury report, but he did not play, right?
I did not see him out there. Yeah.
How are you? What did you think of slot coverage, Jermaine Matthews, Devin Sanchez, the things they do when Lorenzo Styles is not on the field?
Yeah, it was good in this game. I guess like it wasn't, again, not a game that's going to test them a whole lot. Sanchez did get the one pass interference penalty that I thought was actually a pretty weak call.
I thought that was a weak call too. I was confused.
So he just like kind of like put his hands on the guy and the guy dove. It's like in hockey, that's a penalty on the other guy for embellishing. They should do that in football. Yeah, so fine. Like again, not a game where they're going to get tested a whole lot. Matthews had one tackle. I think he might have been in coverage on the interception, but it was also like kind of an inaccurate throw that just hit off the guy's shoulder and then was picked out of the air by Sonny Styles. So
I didn't think it was that inaccurate. I thought the guy like didn't get his hands up and like left the ball.
Maybe that's what it was. It hit his shoulder pad. Like that's why it popped up in the air.
Like went through his hand. Like catch it with your hands, not your shoulder, bro.
Yeah. So aside from that play, there wasn't a whole lot, I think, in this game that was going to test really anybody in the secondary.
It is a stark reminder. Wisconsin is a once proud program that had the sixth best record in college football among the Power Four from 2005 to 2019 in terms of winning percentage. Ohio State had the best winning percentage between 2005 and 2019. Wisconsin had the sixth best. And here we are today. And it's a situation, quarterback injuries, but a million other things going wrong. Wisconsin is making football look really difficult right now. And I think it is a worthy reminder that sometimes Ohio State makes it look so easy. Football's not easy. Football's actually as hard as Wisconsin made it look. And when Ohio State is just rolling on both sides of the ball, it is all the more to be impressed by.
Yeah, Wisconsin in a game where it had no shot, only threw the ball 15 times and ran the ball 31 times. So they were clearly in let's see if we can string together some first downs and shorten this thing mode. And that was not effective. Yeah, it's a rough watch what's going on in Madison.
Rough watch.
And Ohio State has rough areas, certainly, that need to get smoothed out, but by and large, I think is a pretty fun watch.
7-yard total plays, Ohio State 70, Wisconsin 46 yards per play, Ohio State 7, Wisconsin 3.1. Man, so when you say rough areas, as we talk about the number one team in the country, what are the rough areas in your mind?
The offensive line question on the right side needs to be addressed. continuing to figure out what they do best / should be doing with the run game and who should be doing it. And the situational stuff, short yardage, red zone. That's part of the reason why the field goals frustrated me, is because like they have a lot to work on in the red zone, and they're like passing down opportunities to perhaps do that by kicking 38-yard field goals. Because the red zone stats in this game actually, so they're 5 of 6 with a missed field goal and 2 field goal attempts, but on those field goal drives, I think they only actually ran 1 play in the red zone on like the street. So it's like they're kicking from the 20 and it counts as a red zone trip. So it's like a little bit misleading, but the numbers are a similar conversation to the Ohio game. But the numbers are what they are, and like they need to continue working at it. Like I would relish the opportunities to like allow Julian Sayin to throw the ball more in the red zone, because it's probably the area where he struggles the most. The fade ball is nice. He threw a nice fade ball touchdown to Carnell Tate in this game. But yeah, I think on offense, like situational stuff and finishing drives against good teams, I think is still something that's a little bit up in the air. And that, like defense, I don't know. I guess we don't know what it would look like if they played like an excellent offense, because I don't know that they played an excellent offense yet. But I'm not like super concerned about that. I just think they have a very good defense.
When are they going to play an excellent offense? Like in the semis? Like what? Penn State, UCLA, Purdue, Rutgers, Michigan. And Michigan had a really nice one against Washington today, and we've continued to see the continued growth of Bryce Underwood. But they did that without Justin Haynes today. When Justin Haynes is back, that'll matter for Michigan.
Sure.
But it could be a while. It could be a while until you see that.
Big Ten championship if they play Indiana.
That's true. Do you think broadcasters don't like calling Ohio State games because they're too good?
Yes, and that opinion is less informed by what I heard in the Ohio State game and entirely informed by what I heard in the Michigan-Washington game from Gus and Joel, who were pretty fired up anytime something happened in that game.
I thought Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson were sort of like, they were more matter of fact about it. I don't think they were. It feels like Gus and Joel complain about it sometimes.
Yeah,
man, this isn't even a game. And Gary Danielson and Brad Ness were more like, this game is not a game. And like, we're a little more professional about it, but they still, I thought at times you could hear them like remember when we used to do section games in the SEC, and it didn't mean they were good, but they sure were exciting. And I wish we were doing Georgia Ole Miss right now. And even though Ohio State would undress and de-pants and throw Georgia and Ole Miss into a lake, that game was 43-38 or whatever it was. And here we are watching Ohio State completely dismantle Wisconsin. And it's just not exciting right now, but it is professional. And I'm not sure what Ohio State can do about it, but it is a little bit of a weird spot, I think, for Ohio State fans to have the broadcasters constantly be like, well, your team's really good.
Well, the CBS guys too don't get like, they were getting their top pick of the SEC games every week, and now they get like the 3rd pick of the Big Ten games.
Yeah.
It's like, so they have to call Ohio State, Wisconsin, and then they flashed up the 4 games that are their options for next Saturday. It's like, all those games suck. So it's CBS's fault, I guess. I don't feel bad for them. They're the ones that paid for it. But yeah, you can feel it. It's like they get bored with how good Ohio State is, and especially when they're playing a game like this against a team that just can't hang with them.
It was like, and Ohio State continues to outgain Wisconsin 500-100. But remember Barry Alvarez and Chris Farley? My God, that was great. I would take either of them right now in this booth, because this is torture. So I don't know what to do. I guess Arizona State scored against Texas Tech to perhaps send the Red Raiders to defeat. I don't know if the Red Raiders, do they have stats?
We cursed everybody by saying there's going to be 9 undefeated teams this year.
Now, to be fair,
26-22 with 30 seconds left.
It was my fault. You don't have to we that. I said, I think we could have 4 12-0 power conference.
By the way,
champs.
A&M in a game with Arkansas.
My God. God bless the SEC. All right. Weird. I don't know that we're going to get, we are not going to be like I've called Ohio State boring good in the past, but like boring good to me is more about you do just enough to win against inferior teams and you don't even look that good. And then you come out of a game. And I will tell Ohio State fans this, and Ohio State fans who have been around a lot longer than I have and a lot longer than you have, Bill, they know this. But the times when you came out of an Ohio State game and you're like, man, I don't know if they played that well, but they won by 30. And what are we supposed to do with this? That to me is boring good Ohio State. That can be very odd and frustrating and just a little confusing to talk about. Like, well, you beat Rutgers 40-7, but man, I can list like 17 things I thought you didn't do that well. And just that is not what this is. And so I think to reasonably talk about, okay, right guard's an issue and the run game has to get straightened out. And sometimes special teams is a little weird and we're not sure exactly how the red zone's going to fit together. But there are still just more things piled on top of that, I think, where it's like, okay, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles. I don't know how anybody stops that. Man, Florenzo Styles is out. They're fine in the secondary. Okay, the tackles are playing awesome. How well is Caden McDonald playing right now? But like that kind of thing. Yeah. And then the other four guys on the offensive line are all playing really well. Their receivers could not be playing better.
They could play better. I think the O-line needs a straighten out the whole O-line. Maybe not left tackle, but the rest of the O-line.
Montgomery straighten out? He got beat on one play today.
Yeah, he said the last couple of games he's had a couple of hiccups, I think. Hinsman's had a couple of hiccups.
I feel like Luke Montgomery is more like in a 70-snap game, like 66 bangers and 4 whoops.
Yeah, that's probably right.
And maybe Hinsman the same way, where like the right side at the moment is more like, ooh, I don't know about that, on a little bit more of a consistent basis.
The right side is in a much different spot. Yes, that is absolutely true.
But this, from an offensive line, like 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Bowen has that room playing with aggression. Like everybody in the nation was talking about that. You think they've maybe regressed slightly, like in the past 2-3 weeks?
The 3 best defensive fronts they've played are Texas, Illinois, and Wisconsin. And those are the 3 worst games they played, which is something to chew on. Yeah.
Okay. But Julian Sayin is coming along like you want a quarterback to come along. So.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just think like we want to be realistic, but we don't want to be like unnecessarily pessimistic. We don't want to be Pollyanna. We don't want to be naive. But again, as you go through the sport, the SEC, honestly, like LSU is such a fraud that it's not even worth talking about. Brian Kelly's going to get fired at the end of the year. And it's like Penn State just blew up fast and quick, but there are a lot of SEC programs that are slowly melting down. But the result at the end of the year is there's going to be a lot of melted snowmen down there. And so like, I just don't think that like Vanderbilt is just puffed up on the mediocrity of the SEC, but like LSU being absolute fraud is bad for that league, man. It is bad for that league because they were not at the Penn State level. But the whole point is like, well, Penn State was a national champion possibility, right? It's like they're not close to that. It's like, okay, but Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon are. It's like, okay, Lee Corso picked LSU to win the national championship. Connor O'Gara on Saturday Down South picked LSU to win the national championship. All right, they're a tire fire. All right, who instead? The answer is not Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon. So please, let's just like be aware of like what is happening here. And football's hard. And Ohio State's in a really good spot. Not to be Pollyanna, but Ohio State's in a really good spot. So
yeah, I think they're it's a good time. I think I always hate is this a good time for a bye week question, which Ryan Day will undoubtedly get next week. But to get on the other side of a stretch where you play 3 out of 4 on the road, a couple in tricky spots, a couple against teams that, like, if you're not on your stuff, can give you a little bit of a game. To get through that really kind of unchallenged is good, but they have some stuff to figure out. Now they have a week without a game to address some of it. So we'll see how they come out of it the next time they play.
The KJ thing is very mature until you talk to the media about it. That's when it becomes not mature. I love KJ and he has earned that right, but keep it in the Woody. That's like, do you think Matt Patricia's mad about it? I don't think Matt Patricia's mad about it.
No.
And again, when you're a veteran, like you earn the right to be honest. I mean, like, honestly, if there's gonna be Ohio State fans,
I wasn't even there. Did he volunteer the information, or was he asked specifically about it? Yeah.
No, it was like he got a question like, how's your season going? He was like, I think it's going pretty well. I think I'm playing pretty well. I'm doing some things I wouldn't say I don't want to do them, but I'm sacrificing for the team. And I talked to Matt Patricia about that because I would like to do some other things. And then we continued the conversation. I mean, it's like, nobody in the media is like making this into a thing it's not. I hope fans don't make it into a thing that's not, because like, you don't have to we don't have to pretend that they're not people. What's the point of that? And we don't have to pretend that like a 21-year-old guy or however old Kinyatta Jackson is, who's put in 4 years of hard work in that building, doesn't have a right to say some things that he believes in when he's actually doing the things that his team wants him to do. Right. But you're allowed to be a person on top of that. And so like if any Ohio State fans want to go that way, you're a fan looking for nothing. It's nothing. It's an interesting, mature perspective. And I hope there's nobody who's like, I can't believe. I mean, that would be silly, because now you're asking them to not be people. But guess what? They are people. So I thought it was really interesting, and like I think a little interesting light. And then, by the way, what's a good thing? I can go talk to my coach about this, and he's the guy in charge of the defense. By the way, it's like he didn't bypass Larry Johnson. He talks to Larry Johnson every day. He's in meeting rooms with Larry Johnson every single day, and he went and talked to the guy who's in charge of the defense to talk about, hey, what can we do here in a way that can be better for him and even be better for the team. So I just think I hope people aren't doing a thing. All right. Yeah. We'll be back on Sunday Sound Off on Sunday morning with our Substack subscribers. We'll have some thoughts that we'll share over on Substack. We'll be doing stuff next week. Are we taking the idle week off?
We are not.
Shutting down the YouTube channel?
We're keeping it going. We'll keep it going.
We are. All right. You're the chief of content. So if that's what you say, I was going to go to an island somewhere. I can't afford to go to an island. So we will have lots of stuff next week. Off week for Ohio State before the final stretch run, starting with Penn State at home in Columbus. But for now, this 4-game stretch that I thought, did you think before the season this 4-game stretch had a chance to maybe be tricky?
Yeah. I thought sort of like removing the Michigan thing as an entire conversation, a separate conversation entirely. This was the 4-game stretch coming into the year where I thought they could get tripped up.
Ohio State went 4-0 by a combined score of 134-25.
Yeah, not bad.
So there you have it. All right. Thanks to you guys for being here. As always, you can find us on Substack, Bill and Doug, osu.substack.com. Tell a friend, the Bill and Doug Show. We talk about Ohio State. For now, appreciate you guys. He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises. Ohio State beats Wisconsin 34-0, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.